And a very good Thursday afternoon, good morning, depending on what zone you happen to be living in at the time, what time zone you happen to be in. So, welcome to the show. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your podcast platforms such as Spotify or Spreaker, Apple Podcasts. We're on just about every major podcast available. And also, we're doing Blackjack TV back on the East Coast. And of course, we're at milehighradio.com as well. So, welcome to the show. It's Thursday afternoon, Thursday morning, like I said, depending wherever you happen to be. Things to talk about. Big upset yesterday. The pros had that game for you yesterday. Again, we don't take any credit for that. We're just bringing it to your attention and leave it up to you as to how you want to bet. So, we got a big show for today. No baseball games on tap. We're not going to be talking about any baseball games for today as far as betting on any individual games picked by the pros. But we are going to take some time to look at streaking teams, kind of bring you up to date as to how well they're doing. So this way, if you're thinking about possibly making a bet on baseball today, you might want to think about teams whose streak came to an end or whose streaks are going on. We'll cover those as well. But like I said, basketball is on tap for tonight. We have one big playoff game, the Suns against the Clippers. That's the game we're going to take a close look at. And I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of thought going into this particular game. It could go either way as far as betting is concerned. And of course, it could go either way as to whether they win or lose. So we're going to cover that as well. So anyway, thanks for listening. Our ratings are really starting to move up. We want to welcome any of our Canadian friends now that legalized betting is going to become available for you people up in Canada. Welcome to the show. And just to give you an idea, what we do here primarily is we try to make a better handicapper out of you. And at the same time, we try to give you some tips on handicapping. And we also teach you about line movement. By getting line movement down, you're going to learn which direction the pros are going, and we ride on their coattails, and we actually go with their selections every day. Like we said, no baseball selections today. Sometimes they just don't fit into any parameters. Just don't want to throw out a game to you just to say, oh, here's a game for you to play. We take real pride in giving you these games. We're at a 54.5, almost 55% mark right now as far as picking winners in that particular format. So that's the story with that. And as usual, if you're a first timer, what we normally do is we start off each show by talking about what happened yesterday as far as sports betting was concerned. And of course, that's important to you as a handicapper because we're letting you know how the favorites are doing as opposed to the underdogs. We're looking at the roads teams as opposed to the home teams, kind of give you an idea as to how those numbers are going. You get it by now, you get the idea that here we are numbers people. We want to take the emotion out of betting. You take that emotion out, go with numbers, go with some system that works in kind of that fashion where you don't have to actually use your emotional feelings about a team or about a game. This way, you're just looking at the numbers. Whatever the numbers say, that's what you do. And trust me, if you're picking the right numbers, if you're putting the right data together, that's important as well. I mean, there's data. There's a lot of data out there, okay? But you got to select the data that is going to be of any profit for you. And that's what we're trying to do here, trying to give you that type of information. So in the meantime, let's look and see what happened yesterday. In the National Hockey League, the Islanders beat the Lightning 3-2 overtime game, plus 130 as a home dog on the money line. And so now their semifinal series is tied at 3 games apiece. And now we're going to have a game 7. As far as the over-under on the puck line, as a push because 5 goals were scored. 5 was the number. The Dogs lead 6-5 in this round. And we've talked about this before. During the regular season, you guys have been betting hockey. You notice how they just were dominated by the favorites. I mean, if you were betting underdogs during the season, you're in the poorhouse about now anyway. So yeah, it was really big. You remember that? Now, once the playoffs began, the teams got kind of coalesced. The Dogs kind of got together, and they're ahead in this round, 6 games to 5. And one thing about betting dogs, like when you look at that Islanders Lightning game, that's a plus 130 on the money line. Wait until you hear some of the money lines on the NBA game. That'll even strike you more into becoming possibly thinking on that contrarian way, which is the way we do right here. Like we said, the Dogs lead 6-5, but the favorites still lead in the entire playoff series 39-35. The home teams took a 6-5 lead yesterday in this round. They're at 40-37 for the entire series. The unders are 4-2-5 in this round, so they are 38-33 for this particular series. Meanwhile, over in the NBA, the Hawks rallied in that second half. They beat the Bucks 116-113. Trae Young got 48 points in that game. It's the first game of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Hawks did it as an 8-point road dog, and their money line number was plus 280 on the money line, plus 280. The scoring went over the 225. So as you look at it, the favorites still lead as far as the playoffs are concerned, 45-25 straight up, but only 40-29 against the spread, which is at 58% overall. The home teams lead 39-31 overall, straight up, and 36-33 against the spread. So against the spread, the home teams are at 52.2%. The overs are tied. They're at 34-34. So you can see how that money line makes a big difference. Plus 280 on the Hawks yesterday. Meanwhile, in Major League Baseball, favorites did pretty good. They went 10-3. The only upsets were by the Rangers. They were plus 128 on the money line against the A's. The Tigers are plus 105 against the Cardinals, and the Nationals minus 103. They were the favorite. They were the dog, in this particular game, even though they went off at a minus 103 number, and they won 13-12. What a game that was against Philadelphia. The favorites still lead 617-449, which is almost at 58%. The overs went 7-6 yesterday, and they have the lead on the season. They're at almost 51%. So that's a rundown as far as baseball, hockey, and of course, the National Basketball Association is concerned. So those are the stories for that. So anyway, we're going to take our first break. And when we do come back, we're going to take a close-up look at the game for tonight. The Suns against the Clippers. Check on the line movement and kind of give you an idea as to which direction the pros are going so that it will help you make up your mind which way you may want to bet for this evening. So just a reminder, we're in the sports wagering zone. And if you're new to the show, we take 3 breaks within the show. Each one is of about a minute duration. So if that's the case, we'll be back in 60 seconds. And welcome back. Welcome back. You're in the sports wagering zone. We're coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your major podcasts, such as Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. So we're there on most major podcast platforms. Easy to get a hold of any time of the day. So once again, thank you very much for listening. We're coming to you live, like we said. So let's take a look at what's going on in basketball for tonight. But before we do, you know, another state was going to be coming in to the fold as far as legalizing their betting situation. Because, a few weeks ago, it looked as though like Florida was set to become the latest state to legalize sports betting. Because on the 19th of May, Governor Ron DeSantis signed a new gaming bill with the Seminole tribes to bring legal betting to the Sunshine State. But as usual, the deal gets stuck in limbo because of legal challenges. That is always coming up. That has been for many, many years in the past. So essentially, sports betting is in legal purgatory as it awaits the further federal approval from the Department of the Interior, which has everything to do with the Indian Native American tribes. So, luckily for Florida, sports bettors, their news broke on Wednesday that both DraftKings and FanDuel are spearheading an attempt to take sports betting away from the lawmakers and take it away from the courts and into the hands of its citizens. The two major operators, again, DraftKings, FanDuel, huge, two major operators, deleting an effort to make sports betting a ballot initiative for the 2022 election. A ballot initiative. They're trying to get around and skirt the court, skirt the laws. They want to have the people come in and say, yes, we want it or we don't want it. Now, in order to get on the ballot, the initiative will need to collect at least 1 million signatures. Then it's going to need 60% of the vote in the 2022 election in order to pass and become law. Now, according to multiple sources, the initiative has already been filed and it's likely to be accepted by the Florida Secretary of State in the days that are coming up. Because, Florida, it's about 21 million people live there, making it the third largest state in the country, believe it or not. It's also home to many pro and college sports teams. You got millions rabid sport fans and bettors are living in Florida. So if the Florida ballot, the initiative were to pass in 2022, it would become the biggest crown jewel yet of legalized states in America. So if you live in Florida, if you have friends in Florida, get in touch with them, say, do whatever they can to back this legislation if they want to do it. That's the whole point of it. So we would like to see them come on board. We want to see as many new people coming in as possible. As contrarians, we love it when we get new bettors coming into the fold. Now, that's enough about that. Let's get to tonight's game. Phoenix Suns, Los Angeles Clippers, around 9 o'clock tonight. This is game 3. It's a Western Conference final game. The Suns lead this series 2-0. Phoenix won the opener 120-114. They covered easily. They were 4-point home favorites in that game. But then Phoenix came back and won game 2 on that buzzer beater, shocking the Clippers 104-103. But in this game, if you had the Clippers, you still collected because Los Angeles managed to cover as 4.5-point road dogs in that second game. So let's take a look at now. That's yesterday. Now the series comes back to Los Angeles. This is game 3. The line opened as a consensus pick'em. No matter where you looked, it was mixed. The tickets that were coming in, no matter where you looked, it was almost as a pick'em. Now, early Tuesday afternoon, the news broke out that Chris Paul was upgraded to probable and he's expected to come back into the lineup after that 2-game absence because of that COVID protocol that they have. So we immediately saw the pro money hammer the Suns with Paul coming back, which forced the odds makers to shift the Suns to a 1-point road favorite. Now, the next move is going to be critical, and you're going to have to watch this real closely. If you see this line rise to 1.5 or higher on the Suns as being a favorite, that's going to signal to you that more money has been coming in on the Suns across the entire market, which means the pros are going to be backing the Suns at that point in time. But if it drops back to a pick'em, or it flips back to the Clippers as being the favorite, that's going to be a sign that the pro money is coming in on the Clippers. This way, in a virtual must-win road situation, home game. So the road favorites are 13-7 against the spread, 65% this season. Road favorites, 65%. Short favorites of 5 points or less are at 62%. The Clippers match a really favorite pro system on teams that are down by 2 games, coming back home. And this way, historically, it's been profitable to back these desperate teams that are coming back home in the first quarter and the first half. So the Clippers are a -1/2 for the first quarter and at -1 for the first half. So if you're looking to break it down, that's another way you can look at this game as far as betting is concerned. Just want to go over that once again. The Clippers match one of the most favorite pro systems, a system that the pros like on teams that are 0-2 that come home. And historically, it's been profitable to bet on these teams that are desperate to win, especially in the first quarter and in the first half. The Clippers are a -0.5, 1/2 for the first quarter. They're a -1 point for the first half. So the first quarter is -0.5 point. For the first half, -1 point. So we've also seen some money show up with Paul upgraded to probable because the total opened at 218.5. It's been bet up to 221. Now, Kawhi Leonard with his knee problem, he's not going to be in the game. So leading 2-0, the Suns are still at a -800 as a favorite to get into the finals. Now, the Clippers are the underdog, of course, at +550 to get into the finals. So that's the story on this game. You got to watch it real close. Once again, just want to go over it with you once again. The pros, they came in betting on the Suns because Paul may be coming back. The odds makers, what they did at that point in time, they switched the Suns to being a 1-point favorite because of all that money coming in. So the pros started out being on the favorite. Now, like we said, look at the move. The next one's critical. If you see the line go up 1.5 or higher, that means that the Suns' money is coming in all over the place. It drops back down to a pick'em or it flips back to the Clippers. That's going to tell you that the pro money is coming in on the Clippers. So that's the story of that game tonight. There's something to watch. There's nothing really definitive. Everything depends on what's going to be happening throughout the day. So keep an eye on that one if you're interested in betting on that game. Let's take our second break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at some streaks, winning streaks, losing streaks, kind of give you an idea about that right after this break coming up. So we'll be back in the Sports Wagering Zone right after this. And welcome back. Welcome back. You're in the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. Totally appreciate you listening to the show. So if you tuned in late, we have some things with the Suns and the Clippers, and to kind of break it down simply is this. Initially, the pros came in with their money on the Suns. It turned out being a pick 'em. With all the money that started coming in on the Suns, it went from a pick 'em to the Suns being a 1-point favorite. Now, the way to look at it is this way. If the line moves up to being the Suns being favored by more than a point and a half, maybe 2 points, that means that the pros are really coming in heavy on the Suns. However, if you see it go the other way, if it drops, if maybe the Suns become the dog in this game, or it goes back to a pick 'em, then you can rest assured that the big money is coming in on the Clippers. That's the way to play this game. Wait for it, listen, see what's going on, and bet as late as you possibly can. Okay? So let's talk about baseball. Because baseball, we have no games to talk about today as far as selections, as the way the line movement has been going, or in which direction the pros are going. However, we've been talking about streaks, winning streaks and losing streaks. I got a ton of email in the other day, just waiting for the right time with enough time available to talk about this a little bit more. So just to give you an idea, yesterday, the game between Houston and Baltimore. Houston was on a 9-game winning streak up until that point. They wound up winning, so now they're a 10-point winning streak. They're playing Detroit now. They were playing Baltimore yesterday. So if you're looking at a team that's on the upgrade and you think they're going to win again because they're hot, they're at 10, Houston would be the team to bet. Now, if you think it's going to all come to an end tonight, you bet for Detroit, okay? Because you kind of figure they're finally going to lose. But again, it's always up to you. There's only one other game that's set up as well. You have the Red Sox and the Rays. The Red Sox and the Rays. The Rays are a -7. They had a 7-game losing streak going into yesterday, and then they beat the Red Sox, so that made them move to the plus column as far as winning. So now we go take into consideration the fact that if you're looking at this situation, we have what we call the swagger theory. The swagger theory is very simply this. When a team comes out of a streak, whether it's on a win streak or a losing streak, if they're on a losing streak and they win, they'll generally come back and win the next game. So if you're looking at a game to bet in this situation, the Rays would be the team to bet against the Red Sox today. They finally broke their 7-game losing streak yesterday. They now become a swagger theory candidate. That's the 2 games that we have set up for today. Coming tomorrow, the San Diego Padres got into their 7th win of the season in a row as well. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, but they're not playing today, so there's no sense in doing that. So just a quick look and, just to kind of explain to you what we're talking about. I'm just trying to figure out a quick, easy way to explain to it how it works. Because as its rule, there's all many different aspects of gaming and how you can bet. For instance, it was certainly notable because the last fall, the lack of fans in the stands affected a lot of the home field advantage, especially in the NBA and the NHL playoffs, of course, in the Major League Baseball as well. So before you call the local people and you try to get involved in betting on these type of situations, we're talking about betting on streaks, of course. So you see, it's possible to make anything into a gambling topic, okay? So if you listen to the show over the past few years, you probably heard me talking about betting on or betting against streaks. The key to betting them is to find the ones that are going to last, and you don't want to come in too late, okay? It's also important to a point because you don't want to be what we call fading a streak, okay? If you're fading a streak, you can lose a lot of times because if you take a losing team and you say, okay, I'm going to jump on them now because I think they're going to win, and they wind up losing again, and you stay with them once again, and if you keep staying with them, you can stay on this train forever until they finally do win, okay? So the old saying goes that if you're fading a streak, you can lose a lot of times, but if you're backing a streak, you lose only once. By that I mean, if you take a look at that Houston game, and you've bet Houston to win, that they're going to come back and win their 11th game in a row. If they lose, that's it. You don't bet them any further, okay? Now, that's the story. You don't go any further. You save some money by not following it all the way down. If they happen to win, then you've won. You come back, you do it again if you want to, okay? But at least it's one and done. Once they lose, you can forget about them for that time being. Now, we've seen a lot of streaks lately, all different ones. And of course, the other part about betting streaks is that once a team is on a long losing streak, now, we here think that 6 is the number for a situation to be called a streak. You can say 8. You can say 10. You can put whatever number in there that you want, but whatever it is, you want it to be constant. You want it to be the same every time. Here, we believe that 6 games in a row, whether you win 6 or lose 6, from that point on, we now call it a streak. So the other part of streak betting is that once a team is on the losing streak of 6 games or more, like we said, and in any sport, and then they win a game, you look to bet them to win again. Okay, this is called the swagger theory. Okay, we'll often see teams that are in a long streak that finally get out, they get their swagger up, and they come back and they win another game. It works the other way too. We call it the anti-swagger play. As a team that has a long winning streak, it's snapped, they will often have a letdown, and they're going to drop their second game. So this is one thing to take a look at. So I tried to explain it. I'm trying to simplify it as much as I can. Very simply this. You set your own number as to what you think a streak is going to be. It could be 8, 10, 12, whatever you want. The more higher you go, the more conservative you're going to be, the less plays you're ever going to get. Here, we're talking about 6. Once a team either wins or loses 6 games in a row, we consider that a streak. We start looking at it from that point on. Once again, I want to repeat the games for today. Houston is on a 10-game winning streak. They're now playing Detroit. They were playing Baltimore in the past 3 games, so now they're going to be playing Detroit, a new series. So if you think that they're going to go on, you bet them to win. If you think they're going to lose, then you bet on Detroit. You kind of go the other way. Now, in the meantime, the Red Sox are playing Tampa Bay once again. Tampa Bay had a 7-game losing streak going into yesterday, and they won. So now they come under what we call the swagger theory. So Tampa Bay would be the team to bet in this situation. So that's a story about swaggering, swagger theory, betting on streaks. Keep in mind, you set the number of what you think a streak should be. We'll be following this for a while. We're getting a lot more emails on it, more than I thought we'd ever get on it. And it seems like some of you guys are really getting interested in this type of situation. So good for you. I hope you pick it right. Whatever number you decide on, again, as always, we leave everything up to you. So that's the story there. We're going to take our final break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look once more at that Suns-Clippers game, try to give you an idea as to what's going on. and we'll see and tell you once again how the pros are looking at this game. So this way it might help you in making a decision as well. So we'll be back into the zone right after this. And welcome back. Welcome back into the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo. We're here in Charlotte, North Carolina, coming to you live over the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Taking a look at the odds on that game for tonight between the Suns and the Clippers. As I look at the consensus pick, it's Phoenix Suns are still a 1-point favorite in the game. And as I look across the board, and I'm looking at Las Vegas, by the way. It might be a little different wherever you might be, but it's in Las Vegas. All of the sports books are at -1, making Phoenix a 1-point favorite at this point in time. So that's what we wanted to talk to you about. That we'll keep an eye on that, kind of give you an idea of what's going on. Because again, in this game, it's very tight. Game started out as a pick'em, okay? Now, once the news came out that Chris Paul might be coming back because of his COVID protocols have been met, we saw the pro money come in on the Suns real heavy because of that situation. So when that happened, the odds makers, to protect themselves, have now changed the point spread, making the Suns a 1-point road favorite. Okay, so that's the story there as far as that's concerned. And we keep saying whatever happens next is what's going to be very critical as to which direction you might want to go. If you see the line go up to 1.5 points or even higher, that's going to mean that there's money really coming in heavily on the Suns all across the market. Every place in the United States where it's legal, that means the pros are laying their money on the Suns to make that kind of a move. However, if it drops back to a pick'em, or it comes back to where the Clippers become the favorite, that's going to be a sign that the pro money is coming in on the Clippers because they're in a must-win situation. And keep in mind, road favorites are at 65% this postseason. That's right now is where Phoenix kind of fits in to that particular situation. 65%. They're on the road and they're the favorite so far. Now, short favorites, we're talking about favorites that are 5 points or less, which once again, it's 62% so far this season. So as far as betting on the Clippers, one of the favorite systems that the pros like to use, they kind of feel that if the team is 0-2 and they're coming home, historically, it's been very profitable to bet on these teams in the first quarter and the first half. Last we've seen, the Clippers are a 0.5 point for the first quarter. They're a 1-point favorite for the first half. Now, we've also seen over money coming in. 218.5 bounced up to 221. So that's another thing you might want to take a look at. So again, Nothing really definitive here. You got to keep an eye on it, kind of get an idea in which direction it's going, and that's what's going to help you decide which team to bet, or also what's going to be happening as far as where the pros are going. Whether you go with them or against them, it's totally up to you. We're just giving you the information. So that's the story for today. No baseball as far as pro picks on those, but we did talk about some swagger theory games on tap for today. We have 2 games for today, one for the swagger, and that's called Tampa Bay against the Red Sox. If you think they're going to come back and win again the second time around, Tampa Bay would be your bet. Houston against Detroit. Houston on a 10-game winning streak. If you think they're going to go any further, that's the way to go there as well. So just a reminder that we're, again, working on getting our newsletter together. We're trying to see all the different things we want to put into it, trying to make it as enticing and as enjoyable and, of course, as informational as we possibly can to help make you a better handicapper. This way we can have more time teaching you how to bet, in which directions, different systems, things of that nature. We can update those things on a daily basis, and you'll have it in paper, or you'll have it on your, not on paper, but yes, it'll be in your email. You can file it away, look at it when it comes time, and kind of go along with it in that direction. So if you're interested in the newsletter, very simply, send us an email. Send it to the sportswageringzone@gmail.com and just say, yes, I'm interested in it. We'll put you on the list. We'll get in touch with you when we get it going. Hopefully, we want to get it done just before the NFL season starts so that it'll be of some benefit to you in that situation as well. So that's the story for today. Once again, get that big basketball game on tap for tonight. Keep a close eye on those numbers. -1. Suns, they're a 1-point favorite at this point in time. If it goes any higher, that means that the Suns and the money coming in on the Suns is coming in from the pros. If you see it going the other direction to a pick'em, or where the Suns become the dog in this game, the pros are going on the Clippers at that point in time. So that's the story there. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow on Friday. We're here every day, Monday through Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, Saturdays and Sundays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So until tomorrow, once again, thanks again for listening, and we'll be back again at 12 noon Eastern Time tomorrow. So have a very pleasant Thursday. If you're betting, I hope you have a profitable Thursday. So have a pleasant Thursday and also have a profitable one as well. So until tomorrow, once again, goodbye, everybody. We'll be back again at 12 noon Eastern Time.